Hi, now today we're talking about customer complaints. Customer complaints when they increase as customers are becoming more demanding for your product or service. But irate and angry customers aren't only more vocal to tell you directly where you failed to meet their expectations, they're now turning to social media to share what they see as a perceived horror story. So watch my video and I'm going to give you 10 really easy but straightforward and effective steps to deal with customer complaints. So I think it's really important here to actually say that not all complaints can be resolved and not all complaints are genuine. It's often just a discrepancy in expectations. But what is interesting is there are more complaints about how a complaint has been dealt with than the actual complaint in the first place. Let me explain. What that means is if you've ever tried to make a complaint about something and you had a certain level of frustration, has that level of frustration increased in the way you've been dealt with and been passed maybe from pillar to post than actually what the complaint was in the first place? Now, I've worked in the service industry all my life, but a key turning point for me was probably about 30 odd years ago when I went to work as a holiday rep. And I learned 3 golden rules in how to deal with angry and irate customers. Now, the first of these is to understand the psychological process of the customer. Now, this is where you need to understand what the customer is experiencing and feeling prior to coming to you to make the complaint, as well as what they think and feel about the way that you actually deal with that complaint. The second thing is to follow these 10 steps. Now, it's okay if these 10 steps go out of sync, but these 10 points that I'm going to give you will really guarantee that your customer walks away, regardless of a complaint actually being resolved, but at least they say to you, thank you very much, and they don't take that complaint over to social media. The third golden rule is that you genuinely want to help that customer, that you see this person, that you will do whatever you can to help resolve the situation and their frustration. So in other words, you see people with problems and not problem people. So let me give you a little bit of an insight into my experience in handling irate and angry customers. Like I said, about 30 odd years ago, I got the fantastic job going to live and work in the sun. I flew off to Mallorca and went to be a holiday rep. You get the uniform and you literally, after probably a week's training and lots of paperwork in lost luggage and all passport details, you get sent off into resort to deal with the general public. Now, one of the jobs of the holiday rep is obviously to go to the airport. You do the airport transfers, so you pick the customers up, you take one set back to the airport, and then you wait for the flight to come in and bring the next ones back into resort. But when you take the customers back down to the airport at the end of their holidays, there's very frequently flight delays. So of course these customers all go through to departure lounge, so the baggage has been checked through, they can't leave the airport, and they all start backing up in departure lounge. Now, to get a 1 or 2 hour delay, people can generally deal with. But in the height of the season with air traffic control or whatever disputes there may be, some of these delays can go 8, 9, 10 hours. Now, there are occasions where customers are taken away and they get put up for the night if they know for certain that the plane won't depart. But many occasions, the plane is on the tarmac ready to go and they're just waiting for the go-ahead to board the plane. So the customers have to remain in departure lounge. Now, it's the height of the season, it's probably 40 plus degrees, and these customers have been sat there for maybe 8 hours. Now, many of these families have got young children. They've run out of nappies, they've run out of baby food, and more than likely, they've run out of money. And quite understandably, these customers are now very angry, very irate. So what do? They get these holiday reps who have done this week's training course in paperwork for lost luggage, and they send us through departure lounge to go and deal with these people. And literally you walk through the door and with your uniform on and you get bombarded with hundreds. It's not the odd family. You get bombarded with hundreds of people. They've nowhere to sit, they're hot, they're tired, they've nothing to eat, they've nothing to drink, and their children obviously are not only tired and frustrated, they're hungry. So you go through, and I remember the first time this happened to me, and I literally walked through into departure lounge, and this group of people just pounced on me, and this man physically got hold of me, picked me up by my collar, my feet left the floor, and his words to me were, "Get me an effing plane now." Well, actually, I cried. He put me down and I burst into tears. Because not only had I never been spoken to like that before in my life, I had absolutely no idea how to respond or deal with it. I went out of departure lounge and I was quite upset. I went to my team leader at the time And she looked at me, she smiled and went, welcome to the world of repping. Get back in there. They need you to help them. It took a bit of time. I can't say I went straight back into departure lounge and I was all of a sudden Wonder Woman in my uniform. But what I would say is, over the course of the next few weeks, when this happened repeatedly, your mindset changes. And I started to understand and learn that these people actually genuinely needed our help. Now, one thing the reps were able to do, we could leave the airport and come in and out of departure lounge. So we would actually go to the local big hypermarket and buy food and nappies and drinks and everything and take them through for the passengers. So we could do what we could do for them, but we couldn't get them a plane. We couldn't get them out of the airport and we couldn't get them a flight home. But when we learned how to deal with these people when they were en masse, and we were given training, but when we did learn how to do this, it became probably for me the most rewarding part of my job as a holiday rep. And I was the one that whenever we got to the airports and they went, who wants to go through to departures, I'd have my hand up and I would go through. Because it is a very rewarding and satisfying thing if you can take that irate customer and calm them down and at least have them saying, thank you so much for everything you've done. So let me go through a little bit of a story for you to help you take yourself through the complaint process as we go through each stage. So what I want you to imagine, first of all, as we go through this, is you are a hot air balloon. And this hot air balloon has a level from ground level, let's say 0, to the absolute top level that there is, which is level 10. And you're going to be somewhere along that hot air balloon. So first of all, I want you to think about a time when you've had to make a complaint. Now, this could be anything. You have bought an item from a shop, you've brought it home, it's damaged. You've opened a letter from the bank or whoever, and there's something incorrect. You've arrived on holiday and not got the hotel or the room that you expected or you've paid and booked for. You're in a restaurant and the food's been brought to your table and for whatever reason it's not what you've asked for and it's not to the standard that you expect. So think first of all, what you're doing now is you're recognising that something is not right. Something that you had a hope, dream, expectation for, and it isn't right. You've opened it, you've read it, you've looked at it, you've received it. It isn't right. Where is that balloon now? Where is your balloon on the scale of 0 to 10? Or maybe your balloon now, you've recognised something's gone wrong. Maybe you've just gone maybe 2 or 3. You've just got off the ground and gone, oh, that's not what I expected. So what do people do now? At this stage, something's not gone right. It's not gone to plan. We're all sat around the dinner table in a restaurant. You're at home with friends and family. You've just come back from the shop. You've opened something up. It's not correct. What do? Well, the psychology of human behaviour says that we go and share our displeasure or the disagreement in it, whatever it is, with other people. Now, this could be face-to-face, it could be on the phone, it could be by text, whatever method you choose. But what we do initially is go and tell other people that it's not right. So you're sat around the table in a restaurant, you cut into your steak or whatever and it's tough, it's not cut correctly. First thing we do is go, look at this. What do you think? You try it, have a look, what would you do? So what we're doing is now we're sharing our displeasure with other people. And what happens then? They're all happy and very willing to increase this displeasure by telling you, I wouldn't stand for that. I wouldn't have that. Well, if it was me, I'd take that back. If it was me, I would do this. So we're now taking our own displeasure and our own dissatisfaction and we're having other people add into it to take our hot air balloon probably another 2 or 3 notches higher. So now maybe we've gone from recognising the complaint 2 or 3, we're now maybe at 4, 5, whatever it is, and we're going, yeah, I'm going to do something about this. So we do actually have 2 options. We either accept it and say nothing, which actually for any business is the worst thing that can happen. The worst thing you want is customers that say nothing. We can either accept it and do nothing, or we can choose to make the complaint. Right, we've chosen to make a complaint. So now we're ready to actually voice our concerns to whoever it is. Now, in order to make the complaint, what do you have to do about your complaint? If it's maybe something you've bought from a shop, you've got to get back in your car, you've got to drive back into the town or wherever, maybe park the car, walk to a shopping centre, go back in the shop to actually take it back to say, I want an exchange or a refund, whatever it is. If in a restaurant, you've got to now find the waiter, you've got to find somebody to come over to talk to and maybe say to them, I want to speak to the manager. If it's a letter you've opened, you've now got to go to the phone, you've got to find a number, you've got to ring somebody up, and then what happens? Press 1 for this, 2 for that, whatever. And then you get a series of calls that you go through. And maybe you get to speak to somebody on the phone, you relay that experience to them, and it's not the right department, and they pass you from pillar to post again. So as we're dealing with all of these stages, how is our hot air balloon being affected? So as we're now waiting for this person to come to us, or waiting for someone to answer the phone, or we're standing in a queue in a shop, we're driving back into the town, our hot air balloon is slowly going up and it's increasing in the level of frustration. So by now, potentially, you could be at level 6, 7 or 8, depending on how frustrated you are about your complaint, your situation. So stick with whatever it is that you're complaining about. So what this tells us is the customer's hot air balloon is now probably a level 6 or 7, and they're now meeting the customer representative. So whoever it is from the organisation, they are going to either come to the table, they're going to answer the phone, or they're going to meet them at a counter, wherever it is in a shop. So the customer representative is starting from here at level 0, they're having a great day, but the customer is actually starting up here. So we're not level. So we're starting off at a very different point of view. In other words, when a customer is making a complaint, they are already angry. They are not approaching that complaint on the same level as you, which is why when you receive a complaint from a customer, they will bombard you with maybe angry body language and words and tone of voice, and you're probably taken aback because this for you is the first you've heard of it. But for the customer, this has been with them, if not for hours, maybe for days. So their balloon's up there, your balloon's down here, and you have to now try and get, the first stage is going to be alignment. So you have to get your on the same level in order to move the discussion forward. And again, you've got 2 options. If the customer's up there and you're down here, you can move up to meet the customer up there, or you can have the customer come down and meet you at your level down here, which is, of course, the preferred option. And what many customer service representatives do in an organisation or on the phone is, because they're taken in surprise because this customer is up here and talking to them in an irate way, they immediately go on the defence and they respond in a way that takes it a level higher. The customer then responds to that, will increase their level of frustration, and it becomes a battle of wills and it just goes up. That is where customer complaints are a disaster and fail. That is what you don't do. So I'm going to show you how to bring the customer down so you can proceed with the discussion, so you can have an outcome that is calm and happy for everybody. So let's have a look at the psychological process of the customer. When you first recognise there was a complaint, whatever it is you're thinking about your own personal scenario there, how did you feel when you recognised that whatever it was wrong? You're probably feeling frustrated, you're feeling let down, you feel disappointed. You're probably feeling a bit angry because it's not what you expected. You've now decided to do something about it, so you're either returning it back to the shop, or you're making a phone call, or calling someone over to the table, whatever it may be. How does that make you feel? Well, that's probably inconvenienced. That's probably, you're having to go out of your way and do something, again, that not only you didn't expect to do, you shouldn't have to do. It's wasting time, it's wasting your energy. So now you're feeling psychologically, you're angry and you're frustrated. Now, on top of that, you are now about to make that complaint. How do you think the person that you're going to make the complaint to is going to respond to whatever it is that you're going to say? So you're saying, I've bought this, it's not what I expected. Again, looking at the psychology of human behaviour, what most people imagine is that the customer service representative is going to actually deny that anything is wrong and defend the product or the business or whatever, and therefore you're going to have an argument. Because psychologically in your head, you've already formulated your response when they say, I'm sorry, we can't do anything about it. You've already formulated all the reasons why you're going to make a demand as to what they should do and why they should do it. So the first thing you're expecting from the customer or from the customer service representative from the organisation is a negative response to you of denial and their defence for whatever their business is. So looking at your complaint, here you are, the counter of the shop, you're ready for an argument, you're on the phone, you've just related the whole of your story, or you're waiting for the waiter, whoever it is, to come over to the table. You are already angry. Your hot air balloon is probably again 7 or 8, it could even be going even higher. You're ready for an argument, and so your frustrations are just getting higher and higher. So let's have a look at how this complaint needs to be dealt with. What is the first thing when you relate your complaint to somebody that you want to hear? And research suggests that the most sought after response when making a complaint is an apology. So step 1, the first thing you need to do when faced with a customer complaint is to acknowledge the fact the customer is actually experiencing an inconvenience. You need to tell them you're sorry that the problem has occurred and that it should not have happened, and you'll find a solution. But what you're not doing at this stage is actually admitting that you've got something wrong. Step 2. Now, step 2 is to listen carefully. The customers voice their initial concern about the problem, whatever it must be, but what they really want and what they're looking for is to be heard so they can explain the reasons why they're unhappy or dissatisfied. So in step 2 with listen carefully, you're giving the customer time to vent their frustration and tell you how they feel. This, if we're thinking back to our hot air balloon, the hot air balloon may be at 6, 7 or 8. And the laws of physics state that there are only 2 ways for this hot air balloon to come back down. One is to release the hot air to allow the customer to vent, or the second way is just to allow time, because in time it will naturally come down. So you're fulfilling both of these things in step 2. You're allowing the customer to vent, but by saying nothing and not interjecting, you're also allowing time to pass so the customer comes back down towards your level. Step 3 is don't argue. Now this really runs alongside listen carefully, because what don't argue means is that as the customer is speaking, you have to look very attentively, you're listening, but you do not interject or justify at any point. The customer wants time to offload their concerns, their frustrations and their displeasure, and you just simply need to be seen as somebody who is taking note of what they are saying in a very calm manner. The more time that you give them to speak, the more opportunity you have for that hot air balloon to come down towards your level. Step 4 is empathise. Now, empathise really again runs alongside listen carefully and don't argue, because what you're doing is you're showing the customer that you're hearing the problem and that you understand why they are frustrated and angry. You need to think like the customer here. Put yourself in their shoes. How would you feel if you were going through the same experiences as they are? Now again, you're not at any time saying to the customer, yes, I agree or disagree. All you're discussing at this moment in time is the fact that they are feeling that whatever it is has gone wrong is causing them inconvenience. Step 5 is accept responsibility. Now at this point, the customer's received an apology, they've been listened to, and they believe that they've been understood. What the customer is looking for in the psychological process is somebody to take on board this complaint and say, it's okay, I've got it, I'm going to do something about it. Now, if you are unable to actually find a solution, you need to find somebody else that can, because the worst thing for a customer is to say, I'm sorry, you're in the wrong department, you need to go somewhere else. You know the feeling when you make a phone call and it's press 1 for this department, press 2, you go through the whole process, and by the time you actually speak to somebody, they say, no, I'm sorry, you need to go back to the beginning. So accepting responsibility is either finding the solution or being responsible to find the person who will find the solution for them. Step 6. Now step 6 is don't guess. Now this means is that you can't assume that your answer to the problem is what the customer wants. So let's say, for example, the customer's booked a holiday and they've booked a room with a balcony and a sea view. They arrive to the hotel, go up to the room and have neither. So back at reception, they're making a complaint and the receptionist says, I'm terribly sorry, we have no other rooms available. We'll give you a free bottle of wine with your meal this evening. Now for the hotel, they may believe they're giving a gesture of goodwill, but of course that is not what the customer is after. Now if the hotel has no other rooms available and it is impossible to find a room with a balcony and a sea view, what they need to do is say to the customer, okay, we can do A, B or C. Which one of these things would help resolve this problem? So even though the complaint itself cannot be rectified in as much as giving them another room with a sea view and a balcony, what can happen is the customer walks away feeling that what they have been given is fair compensation for the inconvenience. Step 7. Now step 7 is take action. This is where the customer simply wants what has gone wrong to be made right. So whatever it is and whatever solution is being found, the customer now is seeking for this solution to be implemented as soon as possible. Step 8. Step 8 is keep promises. Now this is where you tell the customer what you're doing at every stage of the process, but it's really important that if the agreed action takes longer than expected, you must inform the customer immediately of any changes. Step 9, which is follow-up. Now follow-up is simply going back to the customer and ensuring that what has happened, they are now happy. Now this is a really important step, because what this says is, you came to me with a complaint and we've heard your complaint and we've presented some possible solutions. You've chosen one, I've now taken action, I've delivered that solution. Follow-up is saying, are you happy? Now, bearing in mind all these steps 1 to 9 could actually happen within a 5-minute time period. They could happen over 3 weeks, but you're still going back to that customer and saying, are we now happy? The final step is really not necessarily a step, it's something that runs all the way through all the previous 9 levels. And this is something we'd simply called be professional. Now, you be professional, everybody knows what professional means. But in this context, what we're saying is at all times you have to bear in mind the psychological, emotional feelings of that customer. The customer is already angry. The customer is coming to you and they have a problem, they have a situation and they need your help. Being professional is seeing this customer as somebody who could be a member of your family or you, and what you would do for somebody that you care greatly about. So I do hope you've enjoyed the video this week. Do remember the 3 golden rules. First of all, remember the psychology of the customer. The customer is already angry. The customer's hot air balloon is up there, yours is down there. The only way to get that customer to move forward with you calmly and have a decent discussion is to allow them either to vent, so allow them to speak lots and lots, or to wait. The physics says it will eventually come down. Take your time, there's no rush. The second aspect is follow these 10 steps. Now, if these 10 steps go in a different order, that's okay. If they get mixed up, that's fine. But do start off with an apology and then listen. If you get those right, the others will slowly fall into place as you become more skilled with practice. And the third aspect, of course, is do genuinely want to help these people. They can see through you if you're just going through the motions. If you genuinely want to make a difference, they will see that. See each customer as a person with a problem, not a problem person. Now, I have said previously, I call this customer complaints, when in fact this can deal with friends and family as well. So if you've got people that can make a complaint about you personally and having a go at you about something that you have done, you can still go through this process and it will still help. If the video has been of use and of help to you, I'd love to hear your comments about both sides, either you as a customer and some of your complaints. This is your time to vent. Tell me what's happened. Tell me how they dealt with it and what they didn't do, and even maybe what you think would have happened differently if they'd followed these 10 steps. Also, tell me maybe about complaints that you've handled. Pop them in the comments section below. Again, I'd love to hear them. Click on the thumbs up, click on the like button. Do follow and subscribe. New video coming out every Monday for your personal and professional life. So for this week, it's thank you very much, goodbye, and I'll see you next Monday. Customer complaints are on the increase as customers are demanding more from your product or service. But irate and angry customers are not only becoming more vocal to tell Take 10. Dealing with angry customers often causes feelings of fear because I don't know why. Customer complaints are on the increase as customers are becoming more angry. They're not becoming more angry. Again. But irate and angry customers are not only what are they? Watch this video and I'm going to give you 10 really simple but really effective steps to deal with every customer complaint. And that's it really. Tune in every Monday, I'll have a new video for your personal and professional life, and so that's for this week for me. It's goodbye. Oh my God, I don't box. Oh dear. I'll start again.